Hi, it's Roger here with the October Q&A video for our Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind, and we have some super exciting questions here. So I'm going to jump right into this. And for those of you who've been following on Facebook and Genius U, you know we have been on our journey of lights. So we have been up on the mountaintops of the Himalayas. We went to Tibet and Nepal and India, and we also have got lots of exciting activities coming up for our final couple of months of the year. Which I'm sure will come out as we go through this Q&A. So hopefully everyone is planning already their 2020, put your future vision together, got clear on what you want to achieve in the coming year, and know you've still got another 6 weeks before the end of this year to be able to achieve all your 2019 goals as well. I'm going to go through this in order of spectrum level on the questions, right? So I've actually organized them, which you can see if you actually go to the Q&A page. I'm going to start with the red level to orange to yellow to green. And I'll actually start, red level actually will include any general questions as well into this as well, right? So I'm going to start here with Robin Greatback. Hi, Roger. I've been toiling with this for months, about to handle the fallout from the failure of Blue Barley, my restaurant business of 14 years. I've been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I feel embarrassed to talk about this, but it's something that needs to be discussed outside the immediate family, and I hope as a friend and a mentor you'll give me your frank, no-holds-barred advice as to how I should handle this. I'm faced with sizable debt, $400,000, and inability to work effectively while under treatment, not to mention the stigma of getting back into the workplace at 71 years old. Without income, Singapore is an expensive place to live, but the children's schooling is affordable, world-class here, and I get ongoing full insurance coverage for my illness again. With world-class medical care at manageable premiums. I was forced to monetize the children's life insurance policies and my properties in order to try and save the business, hence the result, zero savings. Now here's my dilemma: to crowdfund to take care of my family or not? Is it morally correct of me to take this course of action while I'm still alive? I feel that directly asking relatives and close friends for help may be seen as a given, an obligation that would make them feel uncomfortable. Borrowing money is a liability that I may not be able to keep. To be able to clear, I'm not interested to use this to clear my own debts. I feel this is my karma, which I must clear in whatever way I can, even if it means bankruptcy. So, wow, what a question to start on, Robin. And we obviously known each other for some time, and you know that you have got close a number of times to following the pathway, which is going to be the big pathway for any one of you that's in a situation financially where you are not in positive cash flow, which is simply being of service to others. Immediately getting out of infrared level, whatever situation you're in, just get out of it and then be of service to others. If not, one thing will always lead to another. I don't know enough about your medical condition. I'm not just saying that about Robin. I'm saying about everyone on this call. But I can tell you that there is a direct reflection between and this is just from experience of many, many, many years without even being a doctor, that every time that I see anyone that is struggling financially, emotionally, it always ends up reflecting in their health in one form or another, always, right? It's like never been a situation I've known where there's been someone who's been stressed out or had emotional issues or had financial issues and have been in top health. It's just never been the case, right? It always ends up impacting you, right? So there is, one of my good friends in the TLC, she says, that which is not expressed becomes your suffering. Right, like something that starts as basically something which is invisible suffering becomes then physical suffering. And you're in a situation right now where the one thing that's going to actually enable you to be able to actually transform from where you're at, right? Like it doesn't matter what kind of disease you've got, there's always a way, there's always a potential way out, from the point of view that there's always going to be people out there that have had the same disease as you who've actually been able to recover from it. And almost always, the first thing to be able to do that is reset everything and take away anything that's creating a negative impact within your life, which means your debt. Get rid of your debt. And this is something which I'm going to say for someone, if like either you're going to actually have a plan to renegotiate that debt, so everyone who actually at the moment you're owing money to is willing to actually paint a picture for a wider future for you to actually release you from that debt, knowing you're in the situation you're in. Or if you're simply not in a position to do that and you're not like feeling confident that you can actually go out there and generate the income, which should always be the first choice anyone should be doing to repay the debts that you have. If it's really simply not possible, then you have to declare bankruptcy, right? Because by doing that and by clearing it, at least you've got a chance of life. But if you constantly say, no, I will bear the burden of the world on me, and then think somehow you're going to get better while you're actually having that burden, it's impossible to do. So that's the first thing, is just clear it, just get out of the way. Secondly, no, don't go and do a crowdfunding program, because doing a crowdfunding program is just looking to be even more indebted to people, right? It's actually looking for pity, or it's looking for people to actually feel sorry, which is not what you actually need right now, because that's what actually gets you in trouble in the first place. The whole point of victim is it's someone who feels that they actually have had life acted upon them, as opposed to them actually being the ones that actually became driven by life. So don't go out to actually like effectively be begging for money. Be the person who is actually saying, first of all, I'm going to clear everything from where I'm at to get down to ground zero. Then I'm just going to say, with my wisdom, with my time, with my experience, who can I be of most value to? And just go be of value to them, even if they're not going to pay you to begin with, because if you're being of value to them, they will eventually pay you, right? But just go out and just give freely, because you're not doing that right now. I know you're not doing that. And as long as you're there trying to start your own thing up and trying to get people to be supporting what you want to do, when there's no evidence that people actually want that, you're going to constantly be stuck at that same infrared level that you're in right now. And I'll say that for everyone else on the call. It doesn't matter what your health situation is. If you're in a situation where it's all about you, then you're never going to be able to get out of it. But the moment you make it all about someone else, that's when everything changes, right? So that is the most important thing. And especially do not be planning on the basis that you think that you're not going to be around for long, right? Not to say that every one of us shouldn't be actually there to say, well, what if I'm not around? But don't be actually there designing your life as if you're just waiting to die. But actually go out there to say, hey, I'm going to actually solve this. I'm going to find a way around it. And go find those people who already have found a way around it. And you'll see that all the ways that they did it was exactly the way I'm talking about, which is that they actually got themselves into a positive mindset. They got themselves with people who had better solutions for them, and they actually were able to shift their whole experience around of what their life was like, how they saw themselves, and as a result, the physical form, the life itself actually then transformed as well, to at least give you a chance to actually turn all of this into a positive, right? So that's what I would say, and hopefully that is a pretty hard-hitting start for our Q&A video for this month. I'm going to come on to a second question here. This one here is on Callum. By the way, I do know, because I think it was either yourself or it was someone else, Robin, that we talked to before, that anyone who has an illness like cancer should definitely go and get connected. I'm sure you've got doctors, and there's great people obviously in Singapore, but do get connected to people within the wellness community as well that have a track history of working together with those who actually are in a situation where even the hospitals are saying, like, is there another solution? So, like, many of you in the community know that, like, I've always been a great friend of Don Tolman, Tyler Tolman, and the kind of work that they do. You know them as well. They're in Bali. And so I'm sure you're doing this already, but do make sure you're reaching out to others as well, because it is all about who you surround yourself with right now to give you the solution to move forward. Okay, so coming over to Callum. Callum here, totally different question. Hey, Roger. Moving into the age of Society 5.0 is an exciting time, which I believe will successfully solve many of our world's challenges. So looking forward 10 to 50 years, what do you see as being the next age of humanity once we move beyond Society 5.0? When we have worldwide wealth, peace, freedom, UN development goals reached, and a state of utopia, what do you see as being the next chapter in the story of humanity? Well, this is actually a really interesting thing, because we have been talking about this at some of our events, about basically, like, as long as there's something that needs to be sorted out or something that needs to be fixed, you're going to have people going out there to fix it. Once that is fixed, or at least you've actually got everyone to a high level, what then happens? Like, where do people go? And my personal experience and what I really believe, seeing that when there are already self-sustaining communities that do exist, and I'm not just talking about the ones where you've got certain cities where, wealth is high enough that everyone doesn't really have to worry as much about money. I'm really talking about even like tribes in rainforests who are like not having to worry about the money and having to worry about going to work, because they actually have got everything they need in terms of food and shelter and a family and all those other things that are our basic human needs. And what you see again and again, when we get away from the material world and we get down to the fact that you no longer have to work for the money, that the moment that happens, it isn't that we stop working. What happens is that we all actually start working for other reasons. Because if you're not working for the money, what are you going to work for? And you can say, well, I'm going to work for the purpose. I'm going to work to like solve other people's problems. But what if everyone's problems are solved as well, right? Like, then what's the big thing that you actually get focused at? And I've seen this firsthand in Bali, for example, where people will come to Bali, they'll realize they don't have to work that much because the cost of living is so low. And even if you do have money, you're not going to go spend it on a fancy car or a big house or something, because those just aren't values in a place like Bali that people look up to. So as a result, you've got money that means that you actually have the time to do whatever you want to do. And what I see again and again is people move from thinking about a job as being something which is about paid productivity to a job being something which is about paid self-expression, that you're actually getting paid to do something that you actually love. And so some people will go, hey, you know what? What's the thing that actually will express myself best. I'm going to go work with my kids at school to help them. I'm going to go learn a musical instrument. I'm going to go start a business online. I'm going to go and clean up the beach. I'm going to work with others on a project where we can actually get together and do something meaningful for this village. Every one of these is about people saying, what is it that's going to make me feel fulfilled if it's not about the money, right? What is it that's going to make me feel like I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be, which is actually what self-expression is all about. So I really believe that as we go forward, there's going to be more and more people who are going to be expressing themselves. I think entrepreneurs already are doing this if they're self-aware enough to say, well, what is my ideal self-expression? Because for some people, it isn't having $1 billion business. It's having a business that allows them to be able to achieve the things they want to achieve in life with the lifestyle they want, with the freedom they want. It's not all about the numbers. It's about the actual experience of life that you're going to have with it as well. So self-expression, if you say, well, then what does that mean in terms of what the world will look like? I really believe that you're going to have more and more tribes that are actually linking based on self-expression. I think that's already happening. When I go to Burning Man, I'm seeing people there who are all there to express themselves, and you see the most incredible art. You see the most incredible outpouring of humanity in terms of how people actually should be reacting and working with each other, where people actually are able to be proud of being who they are as opposed to doing things that actually aren't an expression of themselves. And I think that the more we do that, the more we bring soul into it. The more we do the opposite, which is just be there as a machine, the more we take soul out of it. So I think that that is going to be the future we're living in, and we're going to see that happen through the education system, right? And that's a large part of what we're doing in Genius School, is actually how do we actually make that happen? And even the way right now we go about solving the world's issues, it's not about solving them in a way that actually takes you away from who you're meant to be. It's actually doing it in a way which already is living into your self-expression, which means that you can keep on doing this even when the problem is solved, as opposed to doing it and then once the problem is solved, it's like, what am I going to do now, right? So for me, I think that's such a powerful concept. What would I do that even if the problem is solved and even if the purpose is served, I would still be doing it? And if you think in that form, then you are future-proof for life, right? Because you're always going to be doing this thing which is the right thing for you. Okay, let's get on to some other questions. We're going to get onto the orange level questions now. So remember, red level is all about getting connected to a higher self where you're being of service. Because the one thing that red level holds on to more than anything is to serve others. Orange level is the next level up where you're going positive cash flow because you are serving, but you're doing more than serving. Red level never gets to orange because they're guilty about serving too much or taking too much, because they're like, that's not service if I've got something left over. So they're always going to end up with zero. Orange level, they've got something positive because they're saying, hey, I'm actually adding more value than I actually even need to because of my work ethic. And the work ethic is not what you decide is work ethic. The work ethic is what others actually appreciate as being your work ethic. So it's actually being, first of all, of service to others, which means it's like plugging into the mains if you want to actually turn on the kettle, and then it's actually turning on the kettle and boiling the water, right? That's basically what orange level is all about. So you're going to see that in all the questions that come up now, they're coming from a place of disconnection or a place of trying to do it on your own. And all my answers are going to come from a place of not try do it on your own or here's how you do it on your own, any more than if someone came along and said, I want to play football, but I'm not on a team. I wouldn't be saying the first thing to do is to go on the pitch and start kicking the ball. I would say the first thing to do is go join a team, right? So it's all about connection, be of value to a team. And so you're going to see as a result of that some of my advice is going to be the opposite of what people are actually doing. And some is going to be helping them on the way as well. So let's actually walk through it. First one I will go through here, simple, quick one. This one here is from Nina Fountain. Hi, Roger. Is there any risk in taking on too many partners at once? I have 2 leading brands I want to partner with. So this is about connecting in with others, leading names in shaping the future of work. The partnerships will involve promoting their products, which are different from mine, and receiving commission on sales. Mainly, I don't want to confuse my network. So first of all, the most important thing is why is there so many conflicts of interest in partnerships? If you want to go and work with someone else, what is it that actually creates this conflict? Conflict always happens if you don't have something that's in common. And you have to have one thing in common in order to make partnerships work. And that is all about how do you serve the purpose of your customer? Because if you're both serving the same purpose of the customer, then of course, working together is going to serve them even better. But if you're not either of you thinking about the customer, if you're thinking about your products, then you're always going to be thinking, oh, he's got that product, we're competing with each other, right? Because you're basically trying to compete to sell your product to the customer as opposed to serving the customer, right? There's no competition when you're serving the customer. In fact, serving the customer, they might be better off actually getting both your products. Or you might actually realize to really serve them, your competitor's product is better than your product, which means you should partner with them and just sell their product for them and take a percentage, right? You probably make more money taking a percentage on someone who's got a best-selling product than you would trying to sell a product that doesn't sell as well, right? And you certainly will have a happier customer, right? So this whole thing is about, do you have something in common with the customer? So my answer to you is not just, oh, go do one or go the other. My answer to you is to basically, answer with a question, which is, if you were to take the next 3 months, or let's say the first, like we're getting to Christmas time, so let's say the first 3 months of next year, and you to say, okay, who is my customer, and do I have the same customer as these two different brands that you're talking about? You say, yes, I've got the same customers. Am I solving the same problem as they are? And so, like, yes. Can I see that I could solve the problem better by actually like delivering on some of these products? The answer is yes. Okay, what's the best way for me to do this in the simplest, easiest way that when I go to my customers and I say to them, hey, you know that my whole focus is actually helping you solve your problem. Guess what? I found a better way to actually solve it because I've actually partnered with this group to actually do it. Do you still have that problem? Are you still looking for a better solution? When I mentioned to you that as well as me delivering to you the things I've been delivering in the past, I can allow to deliver this as well to actually add more value. Do you get excited by that, right? Does this actually get you thinking, hey, this is actually solved my problem even better, right? And if the answer is yes, it does, and brilliant, then that's what you should go with, right? Sometimes, once in a while, you can package a number of different things together and put it all into one. But in my experience, it always is much simpler. If you add one in that's going to have the highest impact, and you do that for 3 months, and if it works really, really well, then you add another in, right? So basically, you end up in 6 months' time still working with both, but you're not trying to basically explain both of them being packaged at the same time, unless it's something like an event, like you're doing a conference and they're all going to be at the conference, right? Or you're doing one major package, which actually happens to include both of them as well, right? But basically, if you do that, you don't know why people are buying, because you've got too many variables you're adding at the same time. So one thing that's really important is that whenever you're adding anything to what you're delivering to your customer, try and add just one variable at a time, because then you can tell what it is that the customer actually gets excited by because they're going to buy more, what it is they don't get so excited by because they're not buying. And then you can actually then always be testing and measuring and always be doubling down on whatever it is that actually moves the dial at the most, and actually backing off whatever actually doesn't move the dial at all, right? So that only can happen if you actually have a finite number of variables or one variable changing at a time. And we'll always do that. If we're trying 5 different things, we'll always actually trial each one by one to just see how much each of them actually adds value to what we're doing as well, right? But like I said, make sure you've actually done this from the point of view of the customer versus how much you're making or how much your partners are making. Okay, next one here, we've got Marie Ruzika. What are the best practices to incorporate the world game into our businesses and create the optimum impact? Well, for sure, join our next mastermind, which is tomorrow, because we have got Paul Dunn on there. And Paul is perfect at answering those kind of questions because he obviously is running B1G1 with Masami, right? And so one of the most important things is following through on what they say are the best ways of actually using B1G1, which is actually in all of your marketing, in all of your customer service, so that people just really understand that everything you're doing is ingrained with the whole concept of giving as a philosophy as part of your culture, right? That's super important. How can you do it most effectively on Genius U? Watch what's happening in the next couple of weeks with what we're launching with our Entrepreneur Dynamics, because Entrepreneur Dynamics is our big theme for this coming next 6 months, which is basically in the same way we had Entrepreneur 5.0 in the last 6 months. Entrepreneur Dynamics is about packaging up all of our different tools like Wealth Dynamics, Talent Dynamics, our impact tests, all into one pathway where people can see how they measure their flow, how they measure their impact, how they grow their flow, how they grow their impact, and through that pathway, how they, as a result of being part of B1G1, the World Game, and also at the same time being served by the faculty members that are in each of our different cities, how that then actually transforms their business as well, right? So if you follow that through and just do it, for sure, that's going to actually already be delivering great value. Okay, so we have here Eva Ostina. What are some best practices in incorporating the World Game? Different one, sorry. Hello, Roger. I'm absolutely happy to find new business ideas. How to help many parents, those who cannot pay for the agency, to find better nannies, to help them make much better interviews with babysitters. Idea was developed in June at an inspirational entrepreneur in London. And after that, I met and consulted many people. They liked my idea very much, gave many advice. I met best startups in Lithuania, so obviously based in Lithuania right now. And now I don't do any, and I haven't done anything to develop the concept because I'm scared. So the question, is it possible to grow a big business and don't go crazy? I want to help parents all around the world, but do it with the sense, not thinking about investment and growing, and have my business for 17 years, which is your nannies agencies, working with clients in Lithuania and abroad. Nice Partners Media knows me as a nannies expert. My Genius, you as Genius Science Star. Yeah, like the most important thing in all these situations is you can always get to a big business, but if you're going to have 1 million customers, you can't ever get to 1 million customers without, first of all, having 100,000, and you can't have 100,000 without having 10,000, and you can't have 10,000 without having 1,000. You can't have 1,000 without 100. You can't get to 100 without 10, and you can't get 10 without 1. So rather than thinking, oh my gosh, is this all too much to have all this stuff? It's like, no, just take the first step. Who's your first customer? One customer, right? Like you can get your first customer today. Just to say basically like, okay, all these people I've got already who are my clients, if I was to go to them and say, here's my new concept, here's what I want to do. Can you see the value in this? Would you like to be one of the first people to come on board and actually try this out, right? And if someone says, yes, I would like that, brilliant. You've now got one person who's going to give you feedback on your product. This then allows you to then say, okay, so let's just walk this through. If this would really be of value, if I did this, would that be of value? If I wanted to charge this much, would you pay that much? If they say, yes, I'd pay that much, I'd do that much once it's up and running. It's like, great, well, it's not up and running yet. We're just getting it going, but I'm going to get my first 10 people on board. If you're happy to be the first person to come and join me, then I'd already say, great, I got my first customer on board, and then we'll continue with the others. And just because you're the first coming on board, I wouldn't want to charge you the full amount. I'll charge you half the amount. Would you be wanting to come on board? If they go, yeah, I'll do it, right? I'll come on board. Great, you got your first customer. Then go out and get your first 10. So that's your beta group, right? That's the group of people. They're probably people you already are you're in a business with, who already have seen the value in what you do and want to do more with you as well. So whenever we actually do any launch, we start with the pre-launch. And the pre-launch is always the people who already trust us. They already know us. They already know that we can deliver good stuff. So then we would then go to that group first and say, hey, do you want to come on board first? And we always get people coming on board, even before they really understand exactly what they're coming on board on, because our reputation is to deliver really good stuff. So in your case, it's about doing exactly the same thing. It's going to people who already know you and just getting that first group on board and just taking the action, right? And if you don't just take it one step at a time, you're going to be looking at the whole staircase and never ever get going, right? And it's never going to happen, right? So really, really super important that it's about basically just first of all going one step at a time. Okay, let's come over to, but by the way, good, like really good that you actually got it to the point where you got excited, people got excited with you. All action happens by just making it bite-sized. And then also by having someone else hold you accountable to it. So when, for example, we take investment money on, we know we're now accountable to our investors for what we said we're going to do. When we have partners who are coming on board to do an event, for example, and we go out and we say to people, this event is happening, we become accountable to make sure the event happens. So whenever I have new products that I want to develop, right, or I have new ideas I want to get out there, I'll always start by actually setting some kind of event or some kind of a launch, putting it into a promotion plan, getting the team behind it, and announcing as quickly as possible to people, this is what's going to happen and this is when it's going to happen. Because the moment that happens, the action starts, right? The moment you have his North Pole, his South Pole, and you just turn it on, that's when magnetism starts. It draws you towards whatever it is you want to do. But if you're still basically not like going out making a public declaration of what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, you let yourself off the hook. You know, you could wait a month and there's no consequence of not doing it. So customers buy from you not because they like what you do, but because there's a consequence of missing out. Talent, team, act, like even you act, not as a result of the goodness that can come out of acting, because you could still do it tomorrow and there's still goodness, right? It's a consequence of not acting. That's why basically like students wait until the last minute before they actually start studying for the exams. There's a consequence at some point which becomes too strong for not making that decision, right? It's the same reason that some people have health issues and they will wait until the very, very last minute or until the doctor actually says it's terminal before they do something about it. Where there's other people who actually say, I'm going to take the action earlier because I've actually set myself a goal to be healthy within this period of time. And then they're actually then having to then make a public declaration for it and then make it happen, right? Getting into a group, having peer pressure. Like just know that we ourselves are the worst people to motivate ourselves if it's just up to us, because there's no consequence of actually missing out or actually not doing it. But there is a huge consequence the moment you're in front of other people, especially people that you respect and you don't want to lose their respect, and you go tell them what you're going to do, you then have to do it, right? But the good news is almost always, if you're around the right people and you've got a really big cause and you say you're going to do it, you have other people that want to come and help you as well. So it's not even about you having to work hard. It's just about basically getting to that level where you're willing to commit before you even know how, right? So super important. Okay, so we're going to come over next to Daryl here. So, hi, Roger. Daryl's from Connect Commune. I'm in a quandary about which niche I should pursue. I started a couple of years ago wanting to help people lessen loneliness and isolation, create an online course that taught communication skills and how to find and develop satisfying relationships and true friends, not Facebook friends, but rather getting out the word around people. Okay, so we've got all this. Don't think. Okay, so it says, I don't think I want to go back to the first niche. So you had these different niches from the looks of it. Yeah, you had a dating niche that you tried because people weren't buying your course. So you thought maybe a person dating niche. I thought people were already spending money on dating apps, which don't work for most, and I could still help people lessen or end loneliness. I've sold many courses there. Haven't sold many courses there either. Don't think I want to go back to that first niche, but do need to figure out how to change my offer to people who are willing to pay for my course, and ideas on what I can do so I can begin getting more sales and build from there. I have been doing meetups and getting some knowledge and word on what people are thinking, feeling, and challenges with dating. Also, I have gotten info from surveys. Plan is now to create a targeted course for the #1 challenge with dating today, meeting people who would be a good match today. Also, it would be a cheaper course, $97. Been using ads on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, so thanks very much for thoughts and feelings. Daryl, this is the perfect example after everything I've just said of how not to do it, right? Like I'm going to go, have an idea of what I think is my thing. That's my best guess. I'm going to double down on my best guess. I'm going to go create whatever products I can around my best guess. And then I'm going to go out there and sell it to people who have not at any point told me they wanted to buy it. And then they don't buy. And then I think there must be something wrong with the niche. So I go find another niche and I go out and I have a best idea of what I think that's going to be. And I go out and I build a whole business, a whole product range around it. And I go out there and I launch that product range to those new people who also have not told me they actually wanted to buy this, and they don't buy. So now the question is, should I go back for the first group of people? Should I go to another group of people? The answer is you don't do any of that. You change what you're doing. You don't go out and build anything without first having a customer who is telling you, this is the problem I've got, and if you could help me solve it, I will pay you money for this. You don't have that today. And the way to get that is almost always go find someone who's already figured that out, right? If you actually want to go out and help people who are lonely, just like I can do that right now. I can go online. In fact, if I go online right now, right, and I basically say how to not be lonely, right, and I basically say I just want to have some kind of event or something that I can go to, something where I can actually do this, right? And I've gone online here and I've got all these different people who already, I'm spoiled for choice on people who are going to actually help me out in this whole area, right? On how to do this, right? If I actually say like I want a course of some sort, right? I've actually posted that in here right now. I've got here Cure Loneliness, e-course, Richard E. Heyman, right? So this person's actually on top of Wikipedia, on top of Google that's come up on here. Secrets of Overcoming Loneliness Revealed, Don't Even Give Up on Yourself. Fireside chats, types of relationships, NDE surveys, what's new, subscribe. This guy here has got an entire business that's based around all of this stuff, clearly doing really well. Got all these different people that actually are not being lonely anymore by following. And if you basically said, well, I'm sure this person, why can't I find people that want to actually buy the stuff that I have? Because they're all going to him, right? They're all buying from him instead. So it's like, okay, well then if they're all buying from this guy, he's probably too busy at the moment. So maybe I should connect up with him and say, what help do you need to actually help? Because every single day, this person's actually out there helping people, right? He's actually got a site here called happyrelationships.com. You can go straight to that, actually find out oh, wow, this guy's already helping all these people. By tomorrow, you could be helping people and actually doing it in a way that actually is the way they want to have it happen because they're actually physically paying for this already. And then you can learn, well, what was it that he's done that I'm not doing? And it's it's very obvious now. He's actually talking about happy relationships instead of avoiding loneliness. That's why they're actually coming on board, because they're actually moving towards something instead of away from something. Oh, look, he's actually got a course which actually is at a price point that people really want. I can go on, but the point is, you can't know any of that in terms of how to solve a problem unless you get with someone who's already solving that problem and then be of value to that person. And then you're going to learn everything you want to learn while you're earning money, because as long as you're helping him to earn money or helping him to have an easier life. And I'm just giving you one example, right? There'll be someone probably close to you already doing something similar as well, where you could already be of value to you. And this is the most important thing at the beginning when you're getting going. Don't try and be a captain of a team to play football when you haven't got any yet basis to actually say you're even worthy of being a football player, let alone a football captain, right? It's really, really important to earn the right to be an entrepreneur to begin with, which means actually being willing to serve other entrepreneurs first before asking anyone to serve you. And so, again, that's what you need to do. And if you do that, then it's not about you or me guessing what's going to work. It's us knowing what works because we're going to where the river is, right? You don't have to guess where the water is if you are at a river. It's very obvious where the water is because it's in the river. And so the whole key thing here is just go find the river. Don't go out there searching for the water. Okay, so let's come over to the next question, right? The next question here is coming to Ann Pete. Ann says, Biggest question: how do I find the Entrepreneur 5.0 presentation? The link that Roger entered yesterday. I could only find the Entrepreneur Crystal Circle in general. So Anne was actually on that Crystal Circle call, and I said, hey, you should be doing the Entrepreneur 5.0 steps, which are basically the 5 steps that we go through at the event, and also we went through on our launch that we did half a year ago. So the way to do it is you just go to the micro degree section of Genius U, or even just type in 2020 Ready Accelerator. 2020, one word, Ready, one word, Accelerator, one word. It shows up as a micro degree. On there, it has every single step with all the videos. All is just in there for you to actually go through the steps to actually know exactly. And all my videos that I actually put up that many of you watched earlier this year, they're all in this as well. It's all in the micro degree, right? So just follow the micro degree through. It's got all the info on there. It's free to join, and off you go. Okay, so next question here is Lisa Michaels. Roger, I have a body of work that was downloaded to me in 1999, and I've developed it for 20 years involving the elemental forces of creation. It's the more Western astrological view of the elements earth, water, air, fire, and spirit, and how they function in consciousness. I've been studying your work and the more Eastern elemental framework since April through Flow Consultant Crystal Circle Conference in Austin, also Vegas Wealth Dynamics Masters. Looking for ways to frame the two systems and just wondering if you've run across this before and have any suggestions. Thank you for your wisdom. Deeply appreciate all I've learned from you. So Lisa, clearly there's many different systems out there that actually use, all the Eastern and Western views. I mean, even just what has just happened over the last month when we met up with some of the professors of Buddhism, which basically has given us together with Hinduism the entire meditation movement and the whole process by which we actually even look after our health and wellness all comes from Ayurveda and the Indian philosophies, and it's all linking the East and the West together. So there's many systems currently that are out there that are making all the links between these things, and that's why things like wealth dynamics are so popular as well. So I think rather than you spending too much time just looking, because you can spend your whole life researching all of this and frankly go be a professor and actually have it all, and that's fine. But if you're looking at this from a point of view of being the way I do it is rather than I have two choices. I can either be learning and make it all academic, which means that I'm kind of going to be in a a university somewhere and just kind of talk about this stuff and research this, or I could be an entrepreneur where I apply all of this, where I actually am able to come up with systems or connect to other people that've got good systems and then actually apply it in a way that solves a problem for people, right? Which is obviously what I've chosen to do. And if you choose to do the same thing, so yeah, I've got all these great ideas that got downloaded to me, then you got to then decide, well, do I want to be an academic? And of course, there's very easy paths to go be an academic, or do I want to be an entrepreneur? And if you say, no, I want to be an entrepreneur, it doesn't start with all that knowledge, right? I've got lots of knowledge and lots of things I've collected over time and lots of things I'm very excited by, but I delete most of it because the most important thing is, am I actually sharing this in a relevant way to my audience, to my customers, to the people that I really care most about, to my community? And to me, that's entrepreneurs. So I was very specific. And many people have come along and said, Roger, why are you just focusing on entrepreneurs? What, don't you realize if you actually had a much bigger or, a wider group, Genius, you could be for anyone, anywhere. And it's yeah, but that's not who I am. For me, the whole thing is about the fact that we're going to go to the future we want to create as a result of entrepreneurs, not just learning these things, but applying them in a way that many other people don't apply. And that's why I want to work with entrepreneurs. So I've got a very clear mission to work for entrepreneurs, and anything I can do that actually adds value to them, which actually turns into a success story, then that's the right thing. So I can use all those tools and all that material to actually make that happen. For you, it might be similar, entrepreneurs. It could be mums at home. It could be kids at school. It could whatever it is that's your number one customer base. Take all your knowledge, take all the things that you've got, and zoom in to that customer base and say, right, I'm going to build my business around this, and I'm going to then take whatever's relevant that helps them on that, and they'll tell me what's relevant, they'll tell me what's not relevant, and then that way you don't have to worry about all the other bits and pieces. And then even taking the information you're hearing from me, or taking the information you'll find from Eastern philosophy, or any of the systems that are out there, because there's many obviously that are out there, most of which, if I went through the full list of them, wouldn't be relevant to you, but that the ones that would be relevant would be ones because they actually serve your niche in a way that people then go, oh, if I use this tool, it gets me to that result, and it gets me to a point where I can solve a problem that I particularly have. That's the most important thing. So I would really advise you to basically get zoomed in as to what that is, and you'll always find there's someone out there already solving a problem in that niche using tools like the ones that we have. Go work with them, right? And that's the first step to actually then find your own niche from within there as well. So we've got Ken here who says, hi Roger, love the website. I want to follow my wealth dynamics path with passion and purpose. I want to live in a cheap country like Vietnam, Indonesia, or Philippines, Thailand, or Africa? What are the steps I can take in order for that to happen? How can I find the right country for me that follows the wealth dynamics path? Not sure where and how to start. I have a rental property that is producing about $1,000 per month, free and clear. I'm based in the UK. I also have money saved up, so finance is not a problem. I've been to Thailand 7 years ago and loved it. My profile is Dealmaker. I'd love to hear your experience and advice. Thank you. So Ken, I would definitely recommend, because this whole theme around Orange is about connection, is just go look at the list of all the different events and things happening on Genius U, hear about all the stuff that's going on within our community, and just choose a place where there's a vibrant entrepreneurial community, which frankly is all over the world now, but choose one which really speaks to you, where you're then able to go out there and serve the people that already are there. Because there'll always be a way to earn money very quickly with your skill set and with your experience when you show up somewhere new. And it gives you that opportunity straight away to get connected, to get support, and to actually really just get going and where you want to be. I'll give you one quick story before I get onto your level questions, which is how I ended up in Singapore. It happened because, like, first of all, I was with my wife Renata at the time. We were basically in a little house in England. We decided we'd had enough of England. And we said, where in the world do we want to live? We decided on Singapore, because from Singapore, within 5 hours, you can pretty much get to over half the world's population. And it's the only English-speaking country that allows you to do that. So we said, right, then we'll go to Singapore. I remember, like I said to her, give me a month, I'll figure out how to basically start a business in Singapore. And then basically after that, you can come out and join me. I went out there to Singapore. I was in my 20s at the time. I went out to Singapore only to find, on the day I arrived, I went to the library. There was no internet in those days. I went to the library. I was like looking, or the beginning of the internet had just started, because it was 1997, right? I went looking for basically like what were the rules for starting a business. I found out on the first day when I got there that I had to have a work permit in order to even start a business. So I'm like, well, then I can't really start a business until I get a work permit. I said, right, I'm going to get a work permit within a week. That's my goal. And so then it's like, right, so who can I work for in a week? Where would I go? I said, well, I really want to work on something that's technology based. So let me go look for the top technology companies. It just so happened that the NCB, which is National Computer Board in Singapore, had actually a list of the 10 most up-and-coming Singaporean tech companies that they had just published in the newspaper. So I basically took that list and I started calling through each of them to see if I could meet up with the CEO. I had no luck meeting with any of the CEOs, because they're all busy, obviously, and all of them had gatekeepers where the PA's like, sorry, he's too busy. My whole thing was like, I've got this week only to meet with people. I'm from England. Can I please meet? And still none of that was working. And so about 2 days in, after actually knowing, first of all, I had to connect with somebody. I wasn't going to be starting, I had to be of value to someone. I then thought, well, who can I be of value to if it's not the actual, I can't even get to the CEO, right? I thought, well, someone put this list together, right? So who put this list together? The National Computer Board. Why did they put the list together? Because they're trying to actually help these companies. So I then contacted the National Computer Board to find out the person who actually put the list together. I ended up on the phone with that person, and I said to him, hey, I'm from England. I'm come to support these companies. You've got them all on your list. Can you organize meets with the CEOs? Because I really think I could be a real benefit. His whole job was to help these companies. So of course he could do that. So he then basically said, look, I'll book up some meetings for you. He went and booked the meetings up with the CEOs. They didn't even like that. He went straight to the PAs. And the PAs going, oh my gosh, it's like, the head of the computer board who's actually calling me. I better get an appointment set up. Got the appointment set up. I was and started showing up on the same week, because I said, I'm only here for this week. I went and showed up on the same week to meet with these CEOs. So now meeting up to the CEOs, and my whole conversation, when they're like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I was speaking with National Computer Board about really supporting, companies here in Singapore. This is very different from just being broad-based, where I'm going to support all of them. I'm looking for just one company, maybe two companies, where I can really be of added value to. Here's my experience back in the UK. I'm moving to Singapore. My whole focus is actually helping companies to grow. If you would like my support, I'd love to give it. I'm happy to work free of charge for you to do this as well, because I'm going back to England, and I'll actually come back with all the data on what companies just like you are doing in the UK, because they didn't have that data, and basically what the success formulas are that they're using. And I'll be happy to give you all of that. And so every one of them was like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I'm happy for you to do that. I was then saying, well, what's the biggest challenge you've got? How are you trying to grow your business? Each one of them had different stories of how they're trying to grow. Most of them had sales issues where they're looking to grow and they're looking to sell. And so I said, well, look, here's what I'd love to propose, right? And I met 4 out of the 10. And in each case, I made the same proposal, because I got on well with each of them as a CEO, right? And I was very showing up very much about being of service to them. And I said, here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to be able to actually run some training sessions showing the best practices from England here, for you here in Singapore. I'm happy to do that free of charge, and I'm just asking for one thing in return. And they're like, okay, so what is it you're looking for in return? And it's like, to just get you to sign off on my work permit, right? Because unless I have a work permit, I can't stay here in Singapore. And I'm committed to being here in Singapore. I love what's happening here, and I'd love to be working with you to do this. And so it was a bit kind of bold to go out there and actually ask for that straight away. But I went and did that. And of the ones that I actually asked to that level, there was like 2 of them, because the other 2 I wasn't so sure I wanted to be actually working with those companies. But these 2 that actually, I said I'd offer to help all of them, but to actually be at a point where I'm actually giving them sales training and working with them, these 2 companies that I asked, they both said yes, sure, we'd do that. Because they were entrepreneurial themselves, and they thought it was kind of like a kind of funny thing that I was doing. And one in particular said, hey, and what about if I give you a desk and a computer with that? And I'm like, okay, done, right? I'll work with you. So that guy, Go Kim Soo, he's like, I still know him today. And this is like, 22 years later. And he's the guy who actually got me the work permit. So I went and actually worked together with him and his sales team. And as I started working the sales team, I was like, you know what? Like, I think these guys could actually go out there and generate sales. So I went back to him and I said, look, I'm happy to actually go and accompany your sales team out with them to help them generate sales, provided you're happy to give me some percentage back. And he goes, well, I don't even know if you're going to be successful doing this. I said, well, okay, I'll do this for a week, just see how I do. And if I'm generating good sales for you, then we'll decide after that. So I went out there and we did generate sales in the week that I was out. So I came back and he says, okay, good, I'll give you a percentage and then let's do this. And so then I started earning money by actually being there as well. I couldn't earn that money if I hadn't first basically gone out there to add value, right? And I couldn't have added value if I hadn't first of all had those conversations and find out what value I could deliver. And I couldn't even have had the conversation with them if I hadn't found out who first do I need to add value to, who actually can actually open the doors to these people in the first place. It's all about working backwards in time, but the most important thing about all of this isn't exactly the same as in Ken's question. The fact that you're going from where you're at right now and moving from there to another country, choose a country, and then when you get there, be of value to people there. And today it's much easier than what I did back in 1997, because now we have the internet, we have our Entrepreneurs Institute, we have our community. And so you're really connecting with a high level of trust, where I was starting with 0 trust. And so again, like, just use that basic principle. It works every time if you are genuine and sincere in wanting to serve people. Okay, I'm coming over to our orange level questions now. So I've got, first of all, Kirsty here. Kirsty, hi Roger, question. How do I turn my product-based website into a brand? Context, we met at Entrepreneur 5.0 in Birmingham. I was the lady you worked with on stage. I'm a functional medicine practitioner working with clients one-to-one with digestive health issues, autoimmune conditions, autism, Lyme disease, which is my Equilibrium Health page. I also distribute a range of health products to support healing on my probiotic shop page. Since Entrepreneur 5.0, I've been working on my group program, which I have called Barriers to Freedom, which is a 3-month client journey to help clients heal and seal the gut and skin barriers to strengthen their immunity, improve their health, and can protect in the future. I work under my company name, Equilibrium Health, which also has an online store. However, my main traffic is to the Bravo site. I was wondering where I should develop the brand, i.e. should I brand me, my company, my shop, or my websites are homegrown for me following videos on YouTube, so I know they require professional input. However, I need to gain some clarity where the brand first prior to doing this. Yeah, so really, really important. I've talked about this quite a bit on the Gem Course. There's a brand triangle, right? So you've got your personal brand, you've got your product brands, you've got your company brand. You're not trying to get people to come to the company site unless you happen to be a platform like Genius U. The company site is just there as a house for all your product brands. So you should have a website for each. So why do people come for your personal website? They come for the conversation, which is very, very different from conversion. Conversion is your product sites, right? Which is exactly what you said. It's like your product site is the one that's getting the traffic, which is the way it should be. But people still are going to say, well, who is this person? You need to connect it back up to a personal page, where in the personal page you go, oh, this person's actually a real person. They've got lots of people following them. They've got lots of credibility. And then the final thing is the credibility of the company itself, especially when it comes to building a team. So the company website is the least important website until you get to level 4 in business, when you've got 1,000 plus customers, because that's when you want to attract team members, and they're going to be attracted more to the company they're going to work for than the product that you're selling, right? But until then, it's actually not that important. The most important one to begin with is your personal site, because if you don't have credibility, like the difference of having a landing page, which is a conversion site for a product, with someone like yourself who's got credibility, got a YouTube channel, got lots of great things that you're sharing. Someone who comes there will then say, oh, I want to work with this person. And you'll also have all your partnerships will be product partnerships to begin with, right? So the personal site is the most important one. If you don't have a personal site, if you're kind of like blind, someone will come to, you can have exactly the same page with exactly the same text, but if there's no way to connect that text to a real live person, that one will not get the same conversion rates. It just won't. So you've got to make sure that you're a real life person that actually cares enough about your customers that if someone comes on board and buys from you, there's more to see, there's more to experience, right? And that's why you definitely want to make sure that your personal page is there to link to all of your product sites. However, all your sales will come from your product sites. And so every time, and we always say, always focus at one product site at a time to ensure that actually people are coming, buying something which is part of a promotion plan. To follow the exactly the same Entrepreneur 5.0 promotion plan, it should always be to a product site. Whenever we are launching any kind of promotion, there'll always be a product site for it. So when we're doing an event, there'll be an event page, right? When we're doing something which is like an online promotion, there'll be an online page, right? So each one of those will be where we're asking someone to come in, take a very, very specific action to make that happen, right? Really important. So that's what I would say. And don't worry too much about the company site until later. Always about the product, but reinforce it with your personal brand, right? And keep them very, very clear that the product site may only be up for a year before you change it, or even less before it changes or changes price, whereas your personal site will be up forever. And even the company site won't be up as long as your personal site. You'll have your personal site for life, whereas companies will come and go. Products definitely will be changing all the time, right? And just to give you an idea, within my universe now, right now, if we just paused everything and said, okay, Roger, what have you got in terms of like real estate online? I would say that right now I have one personal site, rogerjameshamilton.com. I have got at the moment about 6 company sites, but the main ones are Genius U, Entrepreneur Resorts, and Entrepreneurs Institute. So the main 3 big ones. So 1 and then 3 in terms of the real main ones. And then in terms of product sites, over 1,000. Over 1,000, right? So because each one generates money. And the ones that we control and that we're driving live at any one point, where we're actually got an actual promotion plan, is maybe 10 out of 1,000. Then we'll have, in terms of evergreen ones, which are ones that just keep on rolling all the time anyway, that people will find and come to, we'll have maybe another 100, which includes like the events and so on that we do, right? So it's like, 10, then 100. So what about the other ones? They're all partner sites, right? All the partner sites that are all selling Wealth Dynamics, all the different tools, they belong to other people, but they're still sites which are product sites where people are buying our products, right? And so basically, if you think about it that way, Amazon really isn't one site, because Amazon never tells you to go to an Amazon homepage, right? Even if you go to Amazon homepage, it will ask you to log in or ask you to get your personalized page. So everyone's got their own personalized page, but most importantly, Amazon is not like one store. It's actually like a million stores, right? And people will go to a particular store to buy a particular product. It just happens to all be on Amazon. In the same way that you go to London, London's not one store. London's got thousands of stores, but it's a city that has a store. So most of the biggest companies today are actually cities of different doorways, or what I call the palace of 1,000 doors, right? It's like you've got basically all these different entrance points of people coming in. It's not all about trying to funnel them all into one different site, right? Which is really, really important, because that allows you to have ongoing sustainability within your business, where people are always going to find you in one form or another, right? Okay. Let's come over next to Alberto. Alberto says here, hi, Roger. First, a big thank you for creating this great tool and all the support you give to entrepreneurs around the world. Thank you, Alberto. I run a R2R business in Oxford, which is doing really well. I am not sure if you know about R2R, but I have to pay a guaranteed rent for 5 years to the property owner for every property. I can see that the market is slowing down due to the Brexit situation, harder to rent a room. I have a mentor orientated only in R2R. I believe you are her mentor too, but I want to know your opinion about it. What would you recommend me to pass this situation with success? How can I grow in this current situation? So we did answer this on the actual call that we had before, right? But for those who missed the call, I'll give an abridged version. And for the detailed version, definitely go onto the call, right? Because that was actually a property question that we had. But R2R stands for rent to rent, right? And basically, if you were to first of all look at what just happened to WeWork, right? WeWork's entire model is rent to rent. WeWork basically goes out and hires for a lot of money, on long-term contracts, basically office floors, and then sublets it, right? Subleases it back out to lots and lots of people for their membership program. Not that different from what Alberto is doing right now. And obviously we saw what happened to WeWork, because no one actually values the liability of a long-term rent contract if you don't actually have on top of that the actual results to show for it. And if you've got a down market, which is what we're moving into right now, then you have a much, much higher risk, because you still have that overhead no matter what. You've got the contract you've got to pay for, even if the place is empty, and you're hoping you'll find someone at the right price point, but the prices are coming down all the time, right? So there's basically, as a model, it's a bad model to have when you're in a downturn, Now, I don't want you to be thinking, oh my gosh, I should just get out of all of them, because you may not be able to get out of them, right? So you're much, much better off at this point anyway, to weather the downturn, to look for a longer term rental in those, right? Unless you happen to be super lucky and it happens to be in a position where Airbnb just loves the place, right? But otherwise, in terms of going for short term let, you really want to be booking it for longer term let if you can, and for you to actually be looking for other revenue streams, so you're not just doubling down on this model, because it is a very, very risky model right now. So that's just going to be I don't know enough about all the details of what you're doing, but I would say that if there's other things you can be doing that actually can be supporting what is always happening more when there's a downturn, which is people are always looking to lower their rents, or they're looking for ways to have like less of a liability in terms of actually having a long-term commitment to anything. How can you really make the most of those? And everyone wants to be educated. So how can you actually support on the education side as well, right? Many, many more people will make money by going out there and actually, for people who are struggling, taking over properties that actually have got themselves in trouble at the moment, and then making money either by selling the properties later after they're holding them, or by actually renting them out and actually getting a much, much better deal, because mortgages are at a record low at the moment, than actually doing the R2R model, right? So anyway, that is my feedback. Let's come over to Victoria here. Victoria says, hi Roger, I'm a flow consultant and I'm looking for ideas for a good lead magnet, as in cheat sheet, checklist, that kind of thing, for business owners. I need one that gives them value in advance, but also makes the next step of getting the debrief a no-brainer. I want to download it and then invite them into a call with me. The call will be free, but from there I can upsell the debrief. Any ideas? So Victoria, I would say this. There was a time, probably not that long ago, maybe, 3 years ago, when cheat sheets and downloads were all the rage, right? And now today they're everywhere. Which obviously means it's not long the time. So there's still people out there teaching this is what you should do to have all these like free downloads. But we see this experience ourselves. If we have an opportunity of getting someone to do a download, which many people do, the download itself doesn't mean they're actually going to take any kind of action, right? So what other things can you give someone for free that is more effective than download? Well, I'll give you two. One that's more effective than download is an actual video. We're actually going to go through a video where at least you're going to have their captive attention. Like even if you had like a cheat, because the problem with this, if you're going to go for something like a cheat sheet, they still got to do something with that, right? Most people, they'll download something, they won't even look at it. And if they do look at it, if they've got to physically fill it out and stuff, that's too much hard work. They won't go through it, and they certainly aren't getting a transformational experience out of it. But if you're taking them through a little video, which actually explains more the value, where they're building trust with you now, so it's not all about them, and through that trust, they're going, wow, this is like really interesting. I want to do more, right? That video then engages them enough to then go, oh, now I want to be a part of this. Then of course they're going to actually then book up a call to have a conversation with you. So it's actually way better to do that than a download. And what's even better than that is a community. Like actually saying to them, like, come join this community. Because when they join a community like a Facebook group and so on, they'll always come in and they'll see all this activity, and no one wants to miss out. So when they see all that activity, they're like, oh, I want to be part of this. And then they're going to be connected to it. And of course, at this point, you've now got their details. You know who they are. You can then actually reach out and have a conversation with them. And obviously someone who joins a community is in conversation mode in a way that if you basically just do a download, it's still like just looking mode, right? It's like going to a store and they can I help you? And it's like, no, I'm just looking. But the moment you show up like at the launch party and you're having a drink and you're sitting around, you're in the same store, someone can come up and have a chat with you. Of course you're going to have a chat with them, right? Because you're in a different mode, right? So those are two examples. By far the best one that we use is assessments, right? That's like obviously like when we do our Genius test or like what we're going to do upcoming with our impact test. We just know we're just getting much, much, much higher engagement because people love to find out about themselves. And so it's very, very different from having to do work, which is what something like a cheat sheet is. Okay. Okay. That would be more what I'd say. Okay. So next, Sophie says here, the best way to get to 1,000+ active members online in 2019, pages versus groups, etc. ? Best way to do that. Hi, Roger. I've just launched Arts Dynamics to empower musicians and performing arts professionals with the support they need to start and grow their creative projects, events, and businesses. It has a website, a Facebook page, a Genius Circle, which is awesome, Sophie. This is really good. And I'd like to build a community with 1,000+ active and engaged people on each platform by the end of 2019, and then 4 times that in the year to come. What do you recommend I do to grow this community in the best way possible? I find, for instance, that the Facebook page is so static and one way, so I wonder if I should have set up a free Facebook group instead, or perhaps a mix. Please advise. Okay, so 2 things I'll say. First one, is don't use Facebook pages. Like, it really makes no sense anymore. Facebook pages were originally set up when people basically had friends limits and you wanted to have more and more people come on board. But Facebook pages are just a very, very poor version of a profile page today, because Facebook pages actually, like, a profile page gives you everything a Facebook page gives you, plus higher engagement, because you've got a mix of friends and followers as well. But if you are on a Facebook page, then you're fundamentally a corporate where you can go and bring lots of people onto the page, but Facebook deliberately ensures that no one sees Facebook pages, because the way they make their money is Facebook page like hosts will then have to advertise to be on it. So unless you're willing to put lots of advertising on it, it's not going to make most sense. And even if you do, the moment you stop the advertising, no one sees a Facebook page anyway. So a group is much, much, much more valuable, right? In fact, what Facebook's doing is they're getting rid of their Facebook wall in the near future, and they're just going to be focusing at events and groups, because they already know events and groups are the two areas which actually have had the highest engagement rate, because it's about physical, real life things that are happening, having conversations with people, right? So groups basically show up in your notifications. Groups are where everyone's chatting with everyone, where people can post their own things into a group as well, which they can't do so easily on a Facebook page. So way, way, way more where you're actually going to have a community. So number one, do it in a group, and make it a closed group, right? An open group just makes the whole thing a free-for-all, but a closed group means people have to actually follow rules. You can actually ask the questions when they come and join, and then people have to wait before you actually invite them in, and people then actually have to earn their way in, which means they're going to be more active when they come in as well, right? Second thing I'll say is that this is not about content marketing where you're the one going one way, which is what you're talking about. This is about engagement marketing, where you're getting them to do things. We'd always do a video at the top saying, hey, introduce where you're from, what you're doing. Post basically if you're looking for support in these particular areas. We'll run quizzes, and you can start with a competition, right? Like, basically, okay, so who would be, the most conscious artist in Sweden, right? Who's got the best art designs? Like, nominate people into it. Use something like WooBox, which is basically a plugin to Facebook, which allows you to actually have competitions where people can vote other people into it as well. If you go down that route of doing those kind of things that gets everyone engaged, you're going to find it's a fun place to be, right? And you'll definitely hit your numbers if you do that. Okay, so next we have Alison Ross here, who says, is the Genius U platform ready for Entrepreneur 5.0 in terms of moving away from sales funnels and creating a value cycle? So are there plans for AI to be incorporated into the platform for mentors who want to provide value for their clients? For example, I have quizzes created on third-party sites that I can embed on my website, but not on Genius U. This means creating a community outside of the Genius U platform, which defeats the purpose of having my products, courses, and events on Genius U in the first place. Okay, so for two things. The first thing is, while you can have a way to generate, like in terms of, for example, like, questionnaires, a way to generate, like, people by using those kind of questionnaires, or even like emails or so on, the very, very best way for people to actually then like experience it is, our experience is always on Genius U. So like every one of our different, like, tests, like even Wealth Dynamics, Genius tests, they're all linked into Genius U, because every time someone does one of those tests, it immediately links them into a pathway where they can then actually say, hey, like, now take the micro degree, where the micro degree then actually takes them through, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, and you can see how many join and how many go through each of those steps. So that's like really, really powerful, and then actually allows them to actually walk through that step as they go. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we are right now in this month going through Entrepreneur Dynamics, which is basically with all of our faculty giving everyone the ability to actually have lead generators that are using all of our best lead generators. So for example, anyone can use Wealth Dynamics right now by basically just using the token codes, right? You can go and buy 100 codes, or you can go and create your own page, and then people can do the Wealth Dynamics test, and you get all the data about that person. And so again, you can track that person as you go as well. Up until now, we haven't let that be the case for all of our free stuff. So if you, for example, send people to the Genius test, it doesn't necessarily mean, because they're all free anyway, it doesn't mean you can track who those people were that went to the Genius test. Or if you send people to the Purpose test or the Passion test, it's like, okay, did they take it? Did they not take it? There's no easy way for you to see that. Whereas what we're now doing with the Wealth Dynamics, which actually links into the Impact test, which includes the Entrepreneur Genius test, which is kind of like a version of the Genius test, which is specifically for entrepreneurs, is that we're actually doing it with tokens and also with links, with your own affiliate links, which means that you can actually give everyone at your event, like, and a token for them to go onto that page to do it, where they know by doing it, you'll know they've done it, and then you're going to be able to add extra value to them, but basically by them actually coming on board, like knowing what you do and the things that you're up to, they'll then actually see that after they've actually gone through the Genius test as well. So we expect there to be a huge shift in the number of people that are actually taking the test. So it's not just people that we're reaching, but it's people you're reaching as well, that actually enables that to happen. And then actually have a test builder so anyone can create a test, just like you can create a micro degree on an event on Genius U as well. So that's all going to be coming in the next 3 months, which we're very excited by. And then of course, it means that all the Entrepreneur 5.0 tools that we're talking about, everyone's going to be using on Genius U. So next we have got here, let's have a look here. One more, I think. One more yellow level. One more yellow. Yeah, okay, so 2 more yellow levels here. So we've got here Nathaniel Woods. I'm a Lord mechanic accumulator with star qualities. I'd like to know if you're open to me learning more about your investment opportunity results and doing presentations to potential investors. What would you like for me to review, team to speak with about this possibility to make sure all info is accurate and congruent with how you present it? Okay, so on this one, we aren't actually. Yeah, I mean, like we only ever open up investment opportunities, like at certain times. So for example, something like raising money for Entrepreneur Resorts. If we ever do that, we'll always have it being done. So we have one before the end of the year, for example. It'll open normally for only about 2 weeks. We'll actually offer some and then we'll close it again. And we'll always do that, like because it is such an important compliance thing that everyone needs to basically be investing in the right way with the right data, all those kind of things as well. It isn't something where we're just letting anyone go out and do that, right? So we have Danny, who is our head of investments, who makes sure he speaks to every single person. Sandra, who together with the investment team makes sure everything's all looked after as well. So we can't just let anyone just go out there and represent us on that. But that doesn't stop you from actually going out there and talking about Entrepreneur Resource and having people buy directly from the stock exchange in exactly the same way that if someone was talking about Tesla stocks and said, hey, Tesla's a good company, you should go invest in it, or Microsoft or Apple or whatever it is, others go, great, I'll go invest, and they can go set up an account and go invest, right? So that would be the way to do it if you want to go down that route. But at the moment, until we actually list on the New York Stock Exchange, which is what we're planning to do next year, I think that the most important thing is just join into the impact circle and just be part of the community and experience it for what it is, rather than look too much at being one of our investment advocates on that. I think would be the best thing. And for any of you who are not part of that, keep an eye out for what we're going to be doing as we grow both of the two companies, because we are super excited about our future plans that we have for both Genius U and Entrepreneur Resource in the coming year, in terms of what we are going to be doing with our listings on them as well. Okay, so next we have got here, final question here on the yellow. Roger, this is from Bash Ali. Hi Roger, this is Bash Ali. Since we had our one-to-one session in Manchester, just briefly to remind you what I do. Easy Tree Technologies is provider of smart theme client software development and easy website solutions that offer great performance with simple, secure, and scalable solutions that save you money, energy, and protects the environment. But since you said I'm in the wrong business, I've kind of packed in my IT business and did only a few small branding and website designs for my customers. But I have been contemplating that and planning on my new venture with smart homes, which we definitely talked about as well, by combining my IT experience and property experience, as it was suggested by you. First, I was looking to refinance my buy-to-let portfolio and reinvest in smart homes, but the issue is I could only raise up to 75% of the portfolio. On Thursday, I was meeting my friend at Marriott Hotel in Manchester Airport. This is a whole story here. And we talked about the property business and current situation, and he suggested I would sell my buy-to-let to raise funds. So I thought, what if I could sell a whole of my buy? Okay, I'm looking for the question here. Looking for funds to build 100 new smart homes, which will in return give me 40% over the next 2 years. He shared the thought to my business partner, replied that he will match the funding. What would you do if you were put both in my shoes, and what steps would you take? Am I doing the right thing? Please advise. I'm going to make this a really super simple one, Bash. Just do it. I mean, you've already got people saying this would be a great thing for you to do to actually move towards smart homes. You've got your partner saying he'll match your money on it as well. Just don't start with 100 smart homes. I mean, just start with 10 or 1. I mean, again, this is the biggest issue, is that most companies, they fail either because they never get started or they try and start too big. It's one or the other, right? I mean, it's like you water the plant not enough, it dies. You water the plant too much, it dies, right? So just do a bite-sized piece that doesn't stop you from taking action. And that's the most important thing to do it, but just do it, right? Because only when you do it, you can then see what's working, what's not working. And only then can someone really give you feedback on it, because otherwise it's just an opinion for an opinion. Right? And someone giving an opinion on your opinion doesn't actually give you a better opinion. It just gives you another opinion, right? So this is all about getting into action. Okay, so let's come over to green level, and we have one question, and then we are complete for this Q&A. This is from Jasper, the very, very last question, actually. Hi, Roger. Hopefully I can get my question submitted in time. You have. Crazy, good, busy right now, so that's good. Thus, the question involves around team and resources. Still have a majority of Nordic clients, and language is an issue even though everybody understands English. There are only a few people with relevant level of experience, and they are either our direct competitors or working for corporates, and thus not that easy to get on a revenue share part-time contract. Taking in a junior and train him, her is also a good option, but not one that we have the best results for so far. And there is a classic issue of clients wanting me or Camilla, which makes it harder to get a support person into the project. What is your reflection and input on this? Thanks. Well, Jasper, this is like, 100%. I mean, I put it as a green level question, but it's really more of a yellow level, because this is the whole octopus syndrome, right? It's where basically you think, oh, like everyone wants us, so that way we must be the ones who have to deliver on the program. And that's actually just not the case. So in your case, the easiest, simplest thing to do is just break up all of your tasks across the line and just look at what are all the things you're doing you simply should not be doing to get you into a high level of work. So you're not looking for a mini Jasper to come in and be another one of you. You're looking for people to actually support the other aspects, which allows you to be double as effective in what you do, right? Because I'm very sure there's things you do at the moment which just aren't high value activities. There's other things you do are very high level activities. So get all the things that are not high level activities and make sure you've got someone else who can do those things better than you can anyway, which then allows you to double up on the stuff that's high value. You could double the size of your business and actually be working less by actually having the right people on board right now. Right? And it's the same for everyone else on here as well, right? Like most of us, we're just doing all too much of the wrong thing by trying to do it all ourselves. And if anything, that's the theme of this entire Q&A, is that basically, as long as you're starting from is like, how do I do this on my own? The answer is wrong question already. If on the other hand, you actually start by saying, right, like, how do I change the question from how do I make money to how do I help other people make money? Like, if there's a way for other people to be making money such that they worry about the business even more than you do, right, it's always going to push you up to a high level, right? And until you're at high level value, you're never going to delegate to anyone else anyway, because you're basically constantly trying to do it all for yourself, right? So that's what I would say. Right now you're in a position where you can definitely grow the business, because it's good that you've got too much business coming your way. That's a good place to be, but it's going to come as a result of not trying to basically delegate your position. It's going to come from you delegating specific tasks, which is a different thing. Okay, that is it for our Q&A this month. I hope everyone has got some great value out of this, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the exciting developments coming up. And do look out for all of our Entrepreneur Dynamics activity coming up, and join us on our next Gem Call. We will catch up with you all later. Bye.